name is Mariano Diaz. I'm the Western Region Vice President for LISC. And I was thinking about the best way to introduce what you're going to listen and hear, but that little video, I mean, really kind of did it all for me. And then coming out of the luncheon plenary and that discussion about what's working and why we do this work. And what's important here at what's happened in Bay Area LISC and this work in communities is this is where the innovation is really happening. And this is where the investment really makes a difference in the lives of the people that we all want to make a difference in their quality of life. And it's happening, and there's things that a real practical measurement for the work. So as we're talking about trying to lift up those things that we heard today, this is what it's about in terms of scale, innovation, and opportunity for investment that really pays off in the end in terms of what we want to see happen is investments in education for employment and not investments that that send people to prison. So this is truly groundbreaking work, and the Bay Area staff and their partners have done an excellent job in bringing the kind of scalability for investment that we're going to talk about today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mariano. My name is Stephanie Forbes. I'm the Executive Director of the Bay Area LISC Program, Local Initiative Support Corporation. And I really want to thank all of you for coming. And I also want to thank not only those of you in the room, but those of you watching on the web. And it's really a pleasure to be able to present the work that we've been doing to you today. You know, I really do think that this work is about reinventing how we achieve the American dream in the 21st century. It is about neighbors building communities. It's about them building networks. It's about actually decentralized action and coordinated action. And very importantly for us, it's really about the real life embodiment of a spirit that in Richmond, we like to call the Rosie Creed, which is, we can do it. And we actually put buttons on your chairs, we can do it. I think what you're going to see today is that we took that spirit, we can do it, and we are doing it. How many people actually know who Rosie the Riveter is? Show of hands. Okay, a lot of people. Excellent. How many people know where Richmond, California is? Show of hands. Actually, a lot more than man, you tipped my hand. All right, well, there's the map. And that's where my colleagues, my partners, and I are going to take you today, as well as some folks on video. So before we begin, I want to give a shout out to a very important group, the Richmond Community Foundation. They are a partner who couldn't be here today, but they are so important. In our parlance, they're our lead agency for the LISC work, and they're also, well, you're going to see a lot of work that without them wouldn't have happened. So I want to give them a big thank you and a lot of acknowledgement. I also just want to acknowledge the Bay Area LISC staff, including Marcia Murrington, who's here in the room, and our Deputy Director, Margaret G., who's our point person for Richmond. And Marcia, actually more people are coming in, so eventually we'll take those signs off. But, you know, this work in Richmond is, it's actually part of our larger Building Sustainable Communities work. And we call that work NEXT. And NEXT actually stands for something, it's an acronym, of course. But I just like to use the term NEXT because it's really about what's next for low-income families, what's next for low-income communities, what are we going to do differently tomorrow than what we did today to make change in our communities. And the formal acronym is Neighbors Excelling Together. For us in the Bay Area, we're implementing NEXT in first just 3 communities. San Francisco's Chinatown, Oakland's San Antonio neighborhood, and of course, as you know, Eastern Richmond. All right, so everybody raise their hands. They know where Richmond is. But I think to really understand Richmond, you need to understand Richmond during World War II. World World War II was when Richmond grew fourfold. It was boom time, and it was the heyday. And here to talk a little bit about that are a couple of local historians on video.
People migrated from Louisiana into North Richmond during the wartime.
The effect on Richmond was greater than probably any other city in the country. The African-American population before the war was quite small, probably 1% or so, grew to 20-30%, I'm not exactly sure of the numbers, during the war and after. Population more than quadrupled in a matter of a year or two. The reason for that, of course, was the building of the shipyards. As the need for workers became greater and greater, there was an active recruitment effort, including women, African Americans. Kaiser hired a lot of disabled people. He had a reputation for not turning down anybody.
You know, an important part of this history, Richmond was one of the shipbuilding centers in the country, and there was a huge influx of workers, including workers like the Rosies. And there was no infrastructure. There was no community infrastructure. So they really had to build it from the ground up. And in a really short time period, they built new housing, a new clinic, a park, a new school, and they built the first daycare center for working mothers in the U.S. I find that amazing. It was the first one, and it was only in World War II. And it's the Maritime Center. All of this was actually in a very small area called Eastern in Richmond. And you've heard of Victory Gardens? You've heard of Victory Gardens? Yeah. Yep. I call this a Victory community. It was very quickly done. They put together a lot of services all in one place. And, you know, actually, it's so special. It's part of the National Park Service. It's a National Historic Park. And I hope you'll all get a chance to go someday, and we'll take you on a tour. This is a little map of the Nystrom area, and here are some of the physical development projects around. What's happened since World War II, as you might imagine, is things have changed. Racial discrimination, high unemployment, poor education, and physical neglect have all taken their toll. And that historic child care center, which actually is the far upper left corner, that's been vacant for many years. The park, kids can't even play in the park. It's not safe. And the true shame, to me, the true shame is Richmond is one of the poorest communities in one of the richest parts of the country. It's one of the poorest communities in one of the richest parts of the country. We have San Francisco right nearby, myriad of opportunities. We have the tech center in the country, Silicon Valley. We have Marin County just across the bridge, one of the richest counties in the country. And Richmond's right there. It's right on the bay. And Richmond's statistics are a little different than those. In Richmond, the median income, actually in Nystrom, the median income is less than half that of the Bay Area. The population itself is diverse, 45% African American, 39% Latino Hispanic, and the rest others. I'm being told to increase the volume a little, but I don't know how to do that. Move the mic. How's that? Better? 45% African American, 39% Latino or Hispanic, the rest a mix of Asian, white, other. In Richmond, our unemployment rate is 18%. That's the official rate. I think you heard earlier, probably unofficially 20 to 30%. Poverty level is 30%, and you know the poverty level is low. The poverty level is 30%. 40% of those are kids. 40% are kids. So, you know, that doesn't really stop there. If If you're in Richmond and you walk down the street, and this figure is actually from a couple of years ago, you're 4 times more likely to be murdered, 3 times more likely to be robbed than the average American. Eastrum Elementary, the elementary school in the heart of this community, lowest 10% performance in the state of California. And California is in the lowest 10% of performers of schools in the country. 1 in 4 kids in Richmond is overweight, leading, hopefully not, but possibly leading to chronic disease later in life. It sounds bad, right? It sounds enormous. The problems are enormous. And my question really is, are they? Because I think that one of our biggest barriers is the concept and the idea that these are overwhelming. And we lose motivation, and we lose drive, because we don't think we can make a difference. And people think, oh, we've tried. We've done that before. I'm not sure. What's, next is about what's next, not about what came before. And for us, what we know that you don't see in those numbers is the heart and soul and the spirit of the people of Richmond. And that is a spirit of we can do it. And let me tell you, we are doing it in Eastrum. We are creating a new Eastrum. So how, you might ask? Well, first of all, it sounds really simple. People have been working in communities. Most of you probably have been working in communities. It sounds really simple, but these are just core principles of our work: listening, connecting, and acting. We listen to the community members. It's unbelievably important. Stakeholders listen to each other, public officials, electeds, agency heads, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, residents, all listening to each other. And then connecting. We set the stage, we set the table, we create the frameworks for people to connect. They're not going to connect unless they're listening to each other. They're not going to connect without those frameworks, and they're not going to connect without listening to each other. It sounds really simple, but this work never is going to happen unless we do this. That listening, that connecting, creates a common understanding. It creates bonds, and what it really does is create a pact. It's not about a plan, although we have a plan. It's about a pact. It's about a commitment. And it's about a commitment to a vision, a single vision, and everybody working towards it. And that is the power of this approach. And that's what we've been doing for more than 7 years, actually, in Richmond. Let me just say here, yesterday somebody said, well, what's the secret of success? There are many. But let me just say here that one of the secrets is having multiple partners implementing multiple strategies at the same time. It's kind of decentralized action along with coordinated action, and a strategy and a vision that's always guiding us. And something's going to happen, and we're going to retool, we're going to rethink. But we always have that in front of us. I think you might have already heard about these. These are the five pillars, we call them, of sustainable communities. They're also the 5 pillars of our work in Richmond: the physical environment, can't read those even, increasing family income and wealth, stimulating economic activity, improving access to quality education, and fostering safe, which is very important in Richmond, livable and healthy environments. We're doing that in Richmond in a partnership called Eastrum United for Revitalization, or NERV. And we like to say, we've got NERV. And you can see it's quite a partnership. This is only some of our partners. Richmond Community Foundation, the City of Richmond has been a huge partner. The nonprofits, the county, importantly the school district, neighborhood council heads, nonprofits like LISC, and many others. All of us come together and work together on a joint vision and we all bring different pieces of the puzzle to the table. I'm going to show you actually a little news clip that a local news station did about some of this work as a lead into the next section.
Now a community group has developed specific strategies intended to improve neighborhood conditions and reduce violence. And tonight that group held a meeting to outline a 5-point plan.
From neighborhood blight
You don't see people at the park anymore.
to unsafe streets,
My peers, my age, they're selling drugs.
Richmond residents say there is no shortage of ills they suffer on a daily basis. But tonight at the Nystrom Elementary School, 50 residents and city leaders gathered to roll out a plan to improve the quality of life in 6 months to a year. The plan focuses on 5 problem areas: public safety, economic development, education, health, and physical environment.
If we're going to make a difference in our city, we've got to engage the people who live here, and they have to have ownership of that.
The residents worked in groups, and each of the 5 areas of focus will receive $5,000 in funding from the Richmond Children's Foundation, seed money to launch their ideas. Ideas that include setting up lending libraries, free cooking and nutrition classes, a program to report blight, and a job training program for residents by residents.
Stay tuned for what's happening in Richmond, because we're not going away.
She's right, we're not going. I think you got a little hint, a little taste of some of the structure, but how we organize this work is we actually have a number of structures, but 2 important ones I'll mention. We have resident-led action committees, and you heard my colleague Jim talk about 5 of those. They set about creating work plans, short-term, 6-month, year, and longer-term. 5 action committees. They've all done them. They've all completed the short-term and the medium-term already. In fact, the safety committee, low-hanging fruit, easy stuff for people to do and important. They said, there are broken streetlights in our neighborhood. They don't work. Our neighborhood's unsafe. They're not even talking about putting in a new streetlight pole. They went around and they surveyed all the streetlights, what was broken, what wasn't. And then the city put new lights in, and it worked. And that's the kind of thing that's going on every day. And that's the kind of thing that together adds up to major change. We also have a policy committee. So on a quarterly basis, the heads of all those agencies that you saw, whether it's the city or the Richmond Community Foundation or LISC or the school district, we all get together and we say, how are things going? What's the update? And then we say, what are the problems? What do we need to solve for? And sometimes it's money, and sometimes it's jobs, and sometimes it's other things. But on a regular basis, we have a policy committee of people with power of many kinds sitting down together to say what's working, what's not, and how do we fix it. One of the major accomplishments that I'll say we're most of the way through is changing the physical environment. When we started this process back in 2002, one of the things that community members said is, why do we have all this physical blight? Why do we have these structures that are run down and are tearing down our community? And it's taken a long time, but we've come a long way. And in part, we've come a long way because of a lot of great leaders. And one of those is in the room, Tim Jones with the Richmond Housing Authority. Tim?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for that very, very kind introduction, Stephanie. Again, my name is Tim Jones, and I'm the Executive Director with the Richmond Housing Authority. And first of all, I got to tell you that normally, whenever I'm in front of a crowd like this of industry professionals, lenders, and the like, I'm always asking for money, all right? That's not the agenda here. I'm just trying to tell you about our comeback plan. But don't get me wrong, you guys, if anybody feels the need to cut a check after this is over, please see me, okay? Now, I want to start off by saying that Bay Area LISC listens. I'm going to talk to you about 5 capital projects here. And these capital projects were the result of a very detailed listening campaign implemented by Bay Area LISC. We're very proud to have worked with these neighborhood councils and all of the people there. We've lobbied everyone around the Neestrom community. We're talking about homeowners and adjacent properties, school teachers, the faith-based organizations. Everyone had a role in this. I mean, when we found ourselves in our workshops, we had folks with their sleeves rolled up actually doing everything from designing floor plans to giving recommendations to traffic calming measures on major thoroughfares. And I believe that this was the way we were going to proceed. I didn't know how much involvement we were going to get, but we got quite a bit, and we were very happy about that. If you take your cues from the media, yeah, we do have our pockets of concern, but we also have very committed community members who want to address those pockets of concern and fix them fast. They're dedicated to this community. They're not going anywhere, and to them, we owe our best. We're going to talk about the way we promise to connect very quickly. Normally, whenever we build a Hope 6 development, and this is my 5th housing authority, so I've been involved in a few of these. 5 years here and another 5 years at Oakland and the like. I've seen Hope 6s, and we do them good. We can go there, we can bulldoze all the property on our dirt and build it back really nice, right on our footprint. And when you step right off our footprint, you have a diamond right in the rough, because you can turn right or left and find the hood very quickly. We were trying not to do that here. I think that if we continue on our course, we're going to. We thought we were going to be by ourselves in all this, but LISC brought the full talent of their Housing Resource Center to assist us. And before we even went out with our RFP, they actually helped us put together a very detailed revitalization plan, which was a part of that RFP. So of course, when we went out with the RFP, we didn't have to wait for a developer to come back and say, we can build you this on this dirt. No, we were able to say, can you do this for us, okay? Can you actually do this? We had the plan there for all of these capital projects. And you know what our motto is? We wanted to hear one response from them, right? We can do it, okay? When we got that response, we went with that team, and we've been working with them ever since. Now, the 5 capital projects are valued at somewhere near about $200 million. Here they are right here. It's the Neestrom Village Public Housing, the Martin Luther King Park and Community Center, the Neestrom Elementary School, and the Maritime Daycare Center. I'm just going to talk very briefly about each of them. I'm going to tell you how we got this thing going, okay? First, the Neestrom Village. It's 102 units of public housing sitting on 4 blocks. That's low density. It's vintage 1943. Its original use was for shipyard workers. Everything is past its useful life. All the major building systems are done. So it's time to demolish and move forward. Our intent is demolish the 102 and build back 400. Mixed income, mixed use, all right? It's a very grandiose plan, but we've done it before on a larger scale. We just completed Easter Hill, not too far from this neighborhood, which is another Hope 6 development. We had a $35 million seed grant for that project. When it was all said and done, the total project cost was $139 million. We have been able to do this in Richmond, but not to the level and detail that we're going to do it here in the Neestrom community. I think that block by block over here with Neestrom Village, I think we'll probably end up with something very special. We'd like to bring a senior component there. We did envision some home ownership units, but since the market has tanked, we're probably going to have to go with rentals instead, and maybe condos that we can flip to home ownerships a little bit later, all right? But nevertheless, we don't want the whole ticket of this project, which is around about $140 million, $145, give or take. We don't want that ticket to scare us. If we stopped every time we thought that it was costing us too much, none of us would get anything done. You all in the audience do this too, so you know that this will be true. All right? The first thing you're going to see is a ticket. If you turned away because it cost too much, we'd never start a project. Okay, so basically, that's the public housing. We will do what we will do well there. All right? Now, let's talk about the school, because remember now, 5 projects, same neighborhood. Now, the school is right across the street from the public housing. All right, if we want to increase the density of that public housing and bring more children there, then of course we're going to have to fix up that school. And the school district has stepped right up and they're doing exactly that. They're going to put a state-of-the-art multi-purpose facility in that school. Imagine these children being able to walk right across the street to such a facility. Imagine them being able to go to a school that no longer has leaky roofs or broken windows. Imagine them being able to go to a school that looks like it belongs in the burbs, okay? That's kind of cool. If you can bring it to the urban area and it looks like it belongs in the suburbs, I think we're doing our job, okay? I actually think we're clearing a hurdle. That's the elementary school, and it's got probably about a $30 million ticket on it, and that's okay, all right? Because the school has bond funds, and they're actually going to use them, and they're moving forward. That thing's under construction, guys, right now, under construction. and we're doing fine there, all right? The challenge right now with the school is that, well, you know, they have money for multi-purpose facilities like that in school renovations because it's capital improvement dollars, but they don't have money for operations. And so sometimes you'll hear in jurisdictions schools having to close because they can't pay their teachers and the like. Well, the City of Richmond has worked with our partner, the West Contra Costa Unified School District. We say, well, okay, we'll give you 1.5, maybe another 1.5 that you can use toward your operation if you promise to keep some of these schools that are in our key challenge communities open. They said, okay, I think we can do that. All right? That's the kind of collaborative effort that comes forward with real, genuine thought processes and everybody saying, we can probably do this. See, they didn't have any operations money, right? They only had capital improvement dollars. Well, kind of balances out. We don't want to close school in a neighborhood that's challenged and we're trying to revitalize, right? We want it open. We want it there for the children. I think that school is going to be a major community asset. It's going to look good. The next one we're going to talk about is the Martin Luther King Community Center. Been around for a very long time. It has already been demolished, and the neighborhood is saying, now you promised to bring this back. I got to tell you, we are still seeking the final funding for this particular project.
Did you say still seeking?
I did say still seeking, sister, okay? Now, I attended one of the workshops yesterday, Indianapolis, and they were talking about this really huge, mega community center that they were building. And I was wondering, like, where do you get the cash for that? I mean, I crunched the numbers for this thing 3 or 4 times. It doesn't service debt, guys, okay? Most of the program participants that are going in there can't pay you anything, so how are you going to build it? And how are you going to operate it? Well, they got this little small sports franchise over there called the Indianapolis Colts, okay? And I guess they can just cut a check. Well, we don't have Peyton Manning in our neighborhood, okay? So we're going to have to find another way to get that one funded. But yet again, we have a commitment to the community, and we're actually going to try to pull it off. That's a concern of ours, but it's not going to stop us from trying to get it done. The Martin Luther King Community Center, again, was adjusted as far as its footprint because of the multi-purpose facility. Now, one other thing we did, as a collaborative, we all sat down and we said, well, hey, gee, housing authority guy, you don't have to build so much community space right here on your property if we're going to bring the multi-purpose facility. Can you adjust the size of the community center? And can these 3 structures be actually complementary towards one another and not redundant? That kind of thought actually helps us to modify our budget. As I shrunk the square footage that was going to be set aside for community space, I can put that towards rentable space. More space for people to live in, because I don't need a 5,000 square foot facility right across the street in my public housing. If we talk to one another, these are the innovative thought processes that come out of that. And we yield positive results. And by all means, this is a positive result. Now we know the size that we have to build back. That shrunk the cost that we had to build back. All right? This kind of works. This is part of the efforts of our Nystrom collaborative that actually really yields positive results in a hurry. The Maritime Daycare Center that you heard them talk about earlier, wow, that is a challenge, okay? It has been there for a very long time. Its original use, as Stephanie said earlier, was for shipyard workers, and we were going to build it back. We received a $2 million grant from the California Cultural Historical Endowment, and they needed a local match. We thought this project was going to run $4 million. So the school district put up 1.5, and the city brought in another 500. And we had our local match. So we had a $4 million project moving forward. However, we were going to put children in there. So you know we had to kind of upgrade our rehabilitation standards so that it would pass DSA, or the Department of State Architecture's department. That kind of added some money onto this rehab job. It went from $4 million up to about $9. And so that meant we were going to need some more resources. Some of our collaborative partners came to the table yet again, and we brought everybody there. We received resources from private developers. We received resources from the National Park Service. The county came in. And then actually, we were able to even use new market tax credits to get this thing going. It is under construction. We're moving forward with it. That was a tough one. We found out a hard lesson that preserving history costs money. And it costs lots of money. And if we're going to do it, don't make that promise to the community and not be able to deliver on it, okay? Because that's just not blow and go work. We could have scraped that 17,000 square foot facility and built back a new one for half the cost. But no, we said we would preserve it, and we're delivering. Another tangible deliverable we promised to the community, and they're going to get it, right? It's all good. We had to check our egos at the door on this one because we kind of undershot our estimated budget. So now we're there, and we're ready to go. The Martin Luther King Park. You're going to hear more about the park from Coach Ray a little bit later. That's our last of the 5 capital projects. The park needed work. I was pretty stoked about that $200,000 that put us over till I heard about how much money they were giving those folks in Indianapolis, all right? And as you can see, we're right in between the Raiders and the Niners, and hell, we got the world champion Giants right across the bay and the A's, but we don't got no love from those folk, okay? So, I mean, it's all right, guys. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and bum about it, but it is what it is. We do have to basically deliver that part, and it, too, is under construction, okay? Again, a tangible deliverable we promise to the community as a result of the collaborative efforts that's underway. In closing, I'd just like to say that, you know, we have our challenges, all right? And we know for a fact that it's going to be tough to deliver on all of them. And we kind of balance our efforts with our need to meet our community's concerns, with our requirements to comply with federal, state, and local laws. I mean, and that's kind of tough. I mean, is anybody in here from HUD? All right? Okay, good. They need to lighten up, all right? Okay, because they hamstring me in a major way, but we still have to move forward. Those federal regulations sometimes become more of an impediment than a help. However, we find a way to do it. And sometimes we got to step outside the bounds, and I don't care. I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission if it's going to get the job done, all right? And that's how we have to move forward. Every single day, we are dealt with funding cuts from every single level. We came back from our Hill visit today, and we got no good news up there, none at all. So it looks like we're going to take another hit, even with a Democratic administration. Okay, fine, we'll take another hit. But please, folks out there that are in the know, people here on the Hill, understand that we are on the front lines like all of you, and we have to deal with this on a regular basis. Just because we can't deliver does not mean that we have to just say to our residents, well, we can't afford to deliver because there's no more money. That becomes more of the norm than the exception to the rule now. We have to find a way to get it done. And I think we're doing that with this collaborative. I think they're pushing us in that direction, and I'm glad they did. I'm so tired of just doing it on our own or working at cross purposes with a city or a county or a school district. It's much easier to have them at the table and work together, much easier. And I tell you, these small projects, some of them don't cost a lot of money, and you may think that they're not really that big a deal, all right? Well, I can tell you, well, I was driving around Eastern Village, you know, last week, and I'm just doing the stuff I'm supposed to do, you know, enforcing leases, looking at stuff, and making sure the property's running right, and blah, blah, blah. The kids out there, they're stoked. They are stoked about that park. They are excited about that park. I haven't had a thank you from a kid in a very long time, but I got a thank you from two for that park, okay? And in all honesty, that's kind of what we're here for. That's kind of what we're doing. Those kids are really impressed with our efforts. And it's for them that we're building all this. It's not me. It's not the rest of this collaborative. When we go away, they're going to be managing this. It's theirs. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, is there any way we can get off the first rung of Maslow's hierarchy of need? Can we get past, you know, just shelter and safety and get those children up? All right? These collaborative efforts are what we're trying to do. I don't know if we're going to get them to self-actualization, but can we get them up? All right? If we continue to work like we are now, I think we can. I really appreciate my colleagues here and your attention, because this is not pie in the sky. This is the way we're going to have to do it from now on. All right? Thank you very much. And Steph, I'm going to punt back to you.
You know, none of these 5 projects were on anybody's radar before we started this work. They were not even conscious that the needs were there and the option was there to do something about that need. But we've been working on it. And like Tim said, we don't take no for an answer. If one door closes, our obligation is to go find another one that we can kick open. And, you know, apparently we're going to have to keep doing that, given the budget environment. But it's really remarkable, and we wouldn't be able to do it, frankly, without leaders like Tim. Leaders like Tim who are going to come to the table as the housing authority and work with the school district and work with nonprofits and actually not only put their heads together about design and use, but put their money together. It's really remarkable. And this happens all the time. One of the other things that I have noticed in this collaborative is we put the vision forward, and then all of a sudden, just because the same people are in the room talking about it and they're focused on the big vision, new ideas come out. new ideas people didn't even think of before. So one of our goals is stimulating the local economy. We need economic development. One of our former LISC board members said, I know farmers in the eastern part of the county, local farmers, they need markets. We know Richmond is largely a food desert, and particularly in East Richmond. They need good, fresh, healthy, and affordable produce. Seems like maybe we could connect the dots, and we did. We created a rather innovative, subsidized, community-supported agriculture project called Farm to Table, and here to talk about that a little bit more are two people, our County Supervisor, John Joya, and a great community leader, Kim Carson-Thrower.
Myself and Supervisor Mary Pifo from the east part of our county got together and said, let's figure a way to connect the agricultural part of our county and the produce that's grown there with the more urban parts of our county where we really need more fresh produce. It's not uncommon to drive around neighborhoods in Richmond and not see many stores that sell fresh produce. It's harder to get, and we thought it was important to provide support for local farmers and also to make it easier for urban residents to get our locally grown produce. And it's part of a larger Buy Fresh, Buy Local campaign that's going on to encourage residents to really buy our farm produce locally.
That program started over 18 months ago.
Us to come to a community center to get healthy food that you know is fresh grown, that some kids have never been to a farm, they don't know about a farm, they walk in the store and they pick up certain items and they really don't know where it came from.
True.
So to be able to come, and we're going to have the full setup, so it's going to look like a farmer's market, and we're going to, you know, go the whole 9 yards, for them to be able to come and see that and then know it's right here in their own backyard and they can take advantage of it. I think it's going to be great. It's going to go somewhere. I think this program is going to be around for a long time, and I think we might be underestimating ourselves. I think it's going to grow. It's me. I think it's going to grow very quickly, and we're not going to be able to contain it.
That was Kim Carson-Thrower, who for many years worked at the community center in the heart of the neighborhood. Actually, that was in the community center where we took that. Now demolished. And right next to her was this woman, Lucretia Bobo, who was a LISC AmeriCorps member working with the Richmond Community Foundation, who actually implemented this idea and got Farm to Table going. And you know, you heard the enthusiasm in Kim's voice. So it's been over 18 months, and there actually are more pickup sites now, and there's a plan to actually grow this program more than threefold. So we're looking forward to a bright future for that. And it is actually, I thought about flying in produce to give to you, but then I thought that wasn't very environmentally consistent. So, but it's a great big box that they get every other week of beautiful local produce. So Tim mentioned kids and how we're always thinking about how is this going to affect kids. There are 700 to 800 kids in this neighborhood probably every day. There's the Nystrom Elementary, there's a charter high school, there's a charter elementary, there are 2 preschools, and until recently a community center. That's a lot of kids. And so from the get-go, we knew if we didn't think about how this was going to affect kids and put on the lens of a kid, this was not going to be a success. And not just little kids. A lot of people kind of write off youth and they say, you know, they're not going to invest in their communities, they're not going to invest in the future. But that is simply not true. And if you are working in your communities, one of the interesting things I have found is they are a powerful force for change. And we have found in Nystrom, every year, actually we have this great program called Y Plan from the UC Berkeley Center for Cities and Schools. And they actually work with high school students to do community planning. Plan, learn, act now. Well, that's what they actually do. And every year, kids come up, young adults come up with great ideas. And we actually implement them. It's rather phenomenal. And I want to actually turn the podium over to Darlene Chicheo, who is a Y Plan alum, who founded a youth council in Nystrom because she knew by her own experience that she needed an alternative family. She needed her friends, and she needed to do what it took to create a place and a group for them to come together. So here's Darlene.
Hi, my name is Darlene Seychow. I go to John F. Kennedy High School in Richmond, California. I became interested in a youth council through Y Plan, where we came together as a class and brought up ideas of what we wanted in the Nystrom area, because there's a lot of land that's not being used. We all think the same, and we want the same thing for our community. Better place to stay, peace, no violence, youth that are going to college, being successful instead of being in the streets.
So that youth council is still going, and it's been a great resource. You know, it's not just about the big kids, though. It's also about the little kids. And education has emerged as a high priority, actually from the community members. And we have an education action team, as well as a lot of other work going on to improve the quality of education, and also to bring sort of an education sensibility into the community. And here to talk about that is one of our fantastic community leaders, co-chair of the Education Committee at NERV, and also a former LISC AmeriCorps member, Tana Montero.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's my pleasure to contribute to the discussion around education, representing Richmond College Prep Schools, where I'm the parent organizer and community liaison. I want to thank Stephanie personally and Bay Area LISC, because I started this position as an AmeriCorps worker, as you can see. This is a perfect role for me. I live in the neighborhood. I have 3 children that attend the school, one in preschool who will be at the Maritime building next year, and Seth in 1st grade and Khalil in the 4th grade, whom you saw singing in the beginning. I started as a parent volunteer, organizing the book fairs, the school garden, field trips, and when I saw the AmeriCorps position, I thought, oh, this is great. I can get paid for what I'm already doing. So, you know, the AmeriCorps program really nurtured my leadership skills and gave me a strong sense of ownership and commitment to my community. And I really appreciated that, and still do. After I did my first year of service, the Richmond College Prep Schools hired me on, so now I've been doing this work for about 4 years. It's my dream job. I also do the after-school gardening with the kids, and I know them. I know their parents. So that helps build the trust and the connection that will motivate our parents to be involved in the school and the community. As Stephanie said, I'm the co-chair of the Education Action Committee, along with Kevin Hufford, chair of West County Reads. And our committee's goal was to increase literacy so that our youth are reading at the appropriate grade level. One of the ways we planned to do this was by doing 8 take one, leave one bookshelves throughout the city of Richmond, focusing in the Nystrom Iron Triangle neighborhoods. They're bright red, you know, pretty, really exciting to attract attention. The parents help sort the books and refill the shelves. There's been a few library closures, as you know, in this economy. So we wanted to make sure that there were access to books in every part of the community, so that all the kids would be able to have books around them. One of the places that's been very exciting, everybody's really excited about it, is that we put a bookshelf in the laundromat, the local laundromat. Kids are there for 2-3 hours, not with their parents, running around in those carts, getting candy from the vending machine. and with nothing to do. So now they can sit there, read a book, take it home if they like it, and then bring it back the next time they're coming to the laundromat. The public radio station did an interview with us, and the Spanish language TV came for the ribbon cutting for that. So it's spreading like wildfire, and we're hoping it'll be a model for other cities and in the nation even. We also did a big literacy festival for as part of that. And we worked with the school, we worked with Nystrom, we worked with NERV, Richmond Community Foundation, the city, to put this big festival together. It was last year, June 5th, and it's now gonna be an annual event. Our goal was to get as many books to as many families as we could to have a safe, fun, free activity, and we gave 1,000 books away to 500 families. So it was a success, and the mayor proclaimed it Family Literacy Day. And then we had a citywide book club to read Richmond Tales, Lost Secrets of the Iron Triangle, which was the theme of the festival. The story is about Mario and Maisha, who are 2 students from Nystrom Elementary who go back in time to learn about their city, the city of Richmond. And the book gives our youth the opportunity to learn about Richmond in a different light, to hear about Rosie the Riveter and the heroes and triumphs of those who lived right where they're living now. It's an inspiration to do more and be better. The author was at the festival, and we gave away 150 copies. I think the best story I'll take away from that day was about 4 boys came onto the campus for the festival, and they didn't have their shirts on. They had skateboards. They were about 14 years old, and we're like, what are these guys doing here? What do they want? And an older lady asked them what they wanted, and they said, we came for the book. So it was perfect. I think the biggest difference in the community since the work in Nystrom started is trust. If you have a good idea, NERV supports you in doing it. The ideas are homegrown and home executed. I can count on the parents because they know they can count on me, and count on NERV to listen, connect, and act. Thank you. Thank you.
I think everything Tiana just said is what makes me feel like this really is sort of reinventing how we achieve and how we even think about achieving the American dream in the 21st century. It's really about homegrown actions, decentralized actions, networks where it's not just Tana on her own, but a bunch of people, and also not just Tana and parents, but policymakers and people who have public purse strings. So it's really great. And we know not only was that park in Nystrom really bringing down the neighborhood because it was not safe for kids to play, so nobody was out there. It was also a place where people who dealt drugs hung out a lot in the past. And it's not going to be that place anymore. And here to talk about that is a Richmond luminary and Vice President of the Richmond Eagles, Coach Ray Johnson.
Thank you, Stephanie. Inspiring youth to reach their full potential has been in my blood all my life. My father was the founding father of the Richmond Steeler Youth Cheerleader and Football Program, so I was called to serve my community as a coach. I've been coaching since 1994, and now the Vice President of the Richmond Eagle Organization and head coach of the Midgets. I want to tell you a little story. I received a phone call. Get my phone out. Yeah, here we go. So I received a phone call. Hey, Coach. Yeah, what's going on? There are some people walking around the neighborhood asking us about the park and what we gonna eat. Well, who is it? I don't know. Hold on a minute. Let me see. So who are you guys again? Lipstick? Oh, they say LISC, coach, it's LISC. I was really excited about someone coming into our community wanting to be a part and help us get it together. It's unique that you find someone that asks kids their opinion, because in our community, kids are rarely even listened to. So them doing that help us understand the need that they really cared about what we were doing and getting in our community and helping us reach our goals. The Richmond Eagles started 3 years ago as part of the Pop Warner Little Scholars Program, the largest youth football program in cheer and dance in the world. But what makes our program unique is that kids are required to have a 2.0 grade point average and maintain that. There are some that do not or cannot achieve the 2.0, but we provide tutoring and services to help them get to reach that accomplishment. We work closely with the schools so that we can get a weekly progress report so that we can monitor and help them in various subjects. And as Tana can attest, this relationship is very important in order to further the educational future of our youth in our community. Through these efforts, I'm very, very proud to say that one of my youth football players obtained a 4.0 grade point average this year. He was acknowledged and recognized. He was recognized this past weekend at the regional level of Pop Warner for being an All-American academician. And thus, through his efforts, he now will be recognized nationally at a ceremony that's going to be in Chicago. So we're very excited in our community about that. But another story is about a hardcore gang member who began working in our program. We began to work with him and giving positive role model, positive reinforcement, helping him understand the need that education is important. And so through that, he's now rehabilitated into understanding that education is very important in his life. We work with kids from the ages of 5 to 15 because we believe that the earlier that you reach these youth, the better their future will become. So we get out and reach out to our community, and since we have done that, our numbers and enrollment of youth participating in our program has leaped in bounds. It's just really exciting for our program this coming season. Now I'm going to turn it over to my partner that I brought from California with me, VA Video, Sal Garcia.
Our organization, the Eagles Football, is more than just football. We try to teach kids how to become young men and also the women, the cheerleaders, how to become young women. We have a life skill program that we teach our kids. We have a scholastics program that we help the kids with their work. We also teach our coaches life skills because we have to lead by example. It's not just us going out there and coaching. We're not just stressing football. We're basically promoting life skills. We're promoting education because after football, this is real life.
I learned sportsmanship and friendship and teamwork and yeah.
You can just see the excitement in little Jameer's eyes at the thought of having a place to play, during the day. Through Bay Area LISC, we have a seat at the table with schools and organizations, and Bay Area LISC is really helping us foster a livable, safe, and healthy environment. In our community, people promise a lot of things, but the kids are actually seeing their dream come true with the Nistra Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park. Take a look at the screen. That's the park. Terrible, not maintained, not well taken care of, but what's missing from that picture? Can anybody tell me what's missing from that picture? Yes. Excellent, kids. Now, if you heard earlier in a symposium, it talked about crime, homelessness, poverty, drug addiction. When you open up your front door as a kid and you see that, do you really want to cross the street and go to the park? But there's some hope. This is our field now, a place where you can see that people will want to play and have a really, really, really good time. Well, just last week, The turf was laid down on a new football field, as you can see from this video. What now once was a rough, unsafe, poorly maintained field now has bright, smooth, new turf that shows our kids they deserve to have the best. They are excited about it, a new football field and soccer field. The kids now have a real field to practice and play on, and they are fired up and juiced about it. These kids need this field, they deserve this field, and in just over a month, they'll be playing on this field. Big things are happening in Eastern thanks to the collaboration of Bay Area LISC, Richmond Housing Authority, various organizations in our community that are coming together to work as partners to further work together to keep the kids on track. I'm proud to say that one of the kids that, oh, excuse me, this is a little nervous. Well, through the efforts of Bay Area LISC, they involved the Raiders football team and other organizations to ensure that we could make our dreams a reality. LISC also helped the Richmond Eagles and myself personally to understand the importance of setting measurable goals. That's the key, setting measurable goals that you can obtain and reach and grab and hold on to. In closing, I'd just like to say a lot of organizations talk about what they should be doing in the community and what they want to do in the community, but Bay Area LISC acts, they walk the talk, and they get it done. Thank you.
One of the privilege about working in Eastern is people like Coach Jackson. He said he learned from us, but I learned from him. We all learned from him. And you know, you've heard from me as Bay Area LISC. You've heard from our partners, both from the Housing Authority, from school, from the Richmond Eagles, and one of our partners, also in the work with Y Plan, but really with higher learning institution of UC Berkeley, is Professor Deb McCoy, who is their founding director. And Deb has taught me about the importance, actually the really critical importance, of involving higher institutions of higher learning, all the resources they bring to bear, but also they're outside observers. Deb's looking at this work through the lens of how does it compare both within the Bay Area and how does it compare nationally, and is reflecting on it and feeding that back to us so then we can look at it and change as needed. So here for a few remarks, Professor Deb McCoy.
Professor, hi. Thank you, Stephanie. It's an honor to be here, and it's a real privilege to share in the work of these amazing, extraordinary leaders locally and to come and share what we're learning and continuing to learn from the work here today. The role, as you might imagine, for the center is to really focus on the collaboration and the interconnections between public education and community transformation and revitalization. We do that specifically by trying to get into the nuts and bolts, not just the theory of what should happen, but the nuts and bolts of what should happen, such as the transformation of educational quality in the things that are happening in Nystrom. From the charter school, amazing innovation and work from such fearless and tireless leaders and parents you've heard from today, to also the investment on the capital infrastructure. The district is not only investing in the community and charter school, but also in the public school system, and that the quality of the built environment, the physical part of education, is as important as what happens programming in the program side. And we often decouple those, and we really have to think about them together as the quality of schools and the quality of whole neighborhood. And I have to say it's been an honor being able to document and continually learning this process over the last 6 or 8 years now. A couple of years ago, we were able to put a national report together, which was called The Mechanics of City-School Collaboration, the Transforming Neighborhoods of Despair into Neighborhoods of Choice and Promise. I have my squad here cheering me on here. And as you might imagine, the target for that audience was HUD and the Department of Education. But it was also meant to really reflect nationally about the types of work that can happen that is happening on the ground. We focused on 3 local efforts in the Bay Area, but the NERV project had something very special and innovative in it by bringing such diverse stakeholders together who were all bringing some different level of expertise to the table. So it was really wonderful to be able to document on a day-to-day basis what happens and where the trigger is that make good ideas into real change. We're happy to share this report with you. We're actually doing an updated report right now, so if you're interested, let me know at the end. I'll take your card and be happy to send you our new report on that. And the 3 things that are really critical to this work is, 1, is the innovations in the built environment and the investments in capital, the investments in quality of education, the programming, and the after-school and in-school programs from early childhood, which we know is so critical, all the way up to the connections to college and higher education, as well as governance changes. Things happen locally all the time. What makes it systems change is when you really change governance practices, and that's something that NERV has done really well and continues to do. I don't have a lot of time here, and I don't want to talk to you about all the mechanics and all the lessons learned from this research, but I will emphasize that the #1 factor that we know makes such a difference is leadership. Leadership at the systems level, at the regional level, at the local level, across agencies. It's just really vital to this work. Having a champion who is there, not just things are good and we got money rolling in, but lately we know things haven't been so good, and that it's really necessary for a champion to keep the motivation and the sense of hope and spirit possible. And I have to say the Bay Area LISC, as well as its partners, have just been incredible champions of this work, keeping this commitment and belief that's not only building physical change right now, but leveraging new investments, which you'll hear from next from my colleagues in the area, about new growth and new investment. From Kaiser Permanente, Angela will talk about their work. How fantastic to have the hospital, to have the local healthcare system at the table in this work, as well as parallel work building healthy communities from the California Endowment, with Diane will speak to you next on that. So I want to close by just saying that the Bay Area LISC is a true inspiration to us at Berkeley. It's an honor to document this work, and we're looking forward to continuing to document this work of adults and young people who are really critical in that process. So thank you.
Thanks, Deb. And I'm actually just going to move it right along. We have, we're really happy and privileged to have with us a brand new partner, which is Kaiser Permanente. I don't know how many of you know them, but they're one of the larger healthcare providers in the country, working in 9 states. They'll be partnering with us on a myriad of programs, actually, in Nystrom, but and beyond. And here to talk about that is Angela Jenkins, their Community Benefits Manager.
Thank you and good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here today. So not only are we in 9 states throughout the country, even in Hawaii, so I'd love to go to Hawaii and visit them, but we've have over a 60-year history in Richmond. We talked about the shipyards earlier, and so that was us. We were there in the beginning of all of that. And so we feel like we're in the heart of the community. We're in the Iron Triangle, right around the corner from the Nystrom project. We feel we have a commitment, a dedication to working in this community to improve community health. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Kaiser Permanente, we're an integrated healthcare system. And what that means is we have our physicians, we have our hospitals, and we have our health plan all under one organization, whereas it's different with different health systems throughout the community or throughout the country. And what we feel is that because of that integration, we have an opportunity to leverage resources like no other system to improve and have an impact on community health. We can take our clinical expertise, we can look at our employer base and get our employees out in the community, and we have our hospitals right in the center. We see a lot of what happens in communities through our emergency departments, whether it's somebody who is having a heart attack or somebody who is a victim of violence. We see what's happening in the community, so we feel obligated to do something to improve community health. And a number of the issues that we see, you saw talked about today by a number of our community partners. And I do local funding, and we actually conduct focus groups, so we listen to the community, we hear what they have to say, and that's how we identify our priorities. And we also serve as a funder. We have a foundation, we provide community investments, and that's what you alluded to earlier. And our mission, our social mission, is to provide quality health care, affordable health care to our members but also the communities that we serve. So we look beyond our hospital walls and we say we need to focus on what's happening in the broader community, because if we don't have a healthy community, we don't have healthy members. So it's in our best interest to work in the broader community. And inspired by this mission, we developed 5 years ago what we call the Healthy Eating, Active Living Initiative. It's the HEAL initiative. And it's focusing on working in schools, workplaces, healthcare settings, community setting, parks, and all of that to promote health and well-being so that residents, no matter where they go, have healthy choices. Our goal is to make the healthy choice the easy choice. And so this is a place-based initiative that transforms neighborhoods, transforms schools, faith institutions, workplaces. And 5 years ago, we gave $4.45 million to 3 communities in Northern California, and Richmond was one of them. We selected Richmond because of a number of the indicators that we talked about today in terms of the high violence, high unemployment, health disparities, poor health outcomes. A lot of our work focuses on reducing health disparities in the community. And simply because this is where our home was, this is where we started, we felt like we needed to make a major investment in this community to promote health. We had a number of successes from that first phase. We decided to launch a second phase of the HEAL initiative. It's 3 years. We're going to give the community of Richmond up to $1.1 million over the next 3 years to focus on looking at increasing consumption of fruits and vegetables, reducing calorie consumption, promoting physical activity in communities, and creating safe places for children and their families to play. And what we hope to do is continue to focus on individual behavior change, but also policy and systems change through this effort, partnering with Bay Area LISC and the community partners that spoke to you today to create this change. And what we did with this second phase is we selected a new fiscal agent, and we decided to work with LISC simply because of the work that they had done in Nystrom, their demonstrated leadership in the community around affecting a major change in the local area right around the corner from our facilities. And the fact that we will have an opportunity not only to leverage our own resources within Kaiser Permanente in the broader community with other funders, as you'll hear from the California Endowment, but LISC has access to national resources. They have a national voice throughout the table. They have an extensive policy agenda that we feel like we can leverage to not only have impact in our local communities, that we can also leverage throughout the work that we do throughout the country. And so for that, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done. We really appreciate it. It helps us do our job better and to improve community health. And I think on behalf of Kaiser, we're just very honored to be able to be in this room today and to be able to partner with LISC and the community partnerships that they've already developed to move our agenda forward to make sure that we are all living in a healthy community. So thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
We're really thrilled to be broadening and deepening the work in Richmond with you, and also learning and building that partnership both within Richmond and beyond. We're also going to be doing the same thing with another brand new partner that we're thrilled to invite up. It's Diana Ronda from the California Endowment. The California Endowment also chose Richmond as one of their core target communities to invest in. And here, Diane's going to talk a little bit about that and why they selected Richmond and what's going to happen.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I want to make sure we have enough time for a conversation, so I'm going to be somewhat brief. But the California Endowment, for those who don't know, is a statewide health foundation. And in 2009, we launched Building Healthy Communities, which is really a new direction for us because it's our first attempt to go really deep with a place-based approach. And Richmond was selected as one of 14 communities throughout the state where we wanted to make really fundamental improvements in the health and well-being of children and youth. And we're going to be really honing in on a comprehensive range of factors that we know are essential for creating health and healthy communities. So the partnership, what we're proposing is to work over 10 years with the community, focusing on 10 outcomes, which include, as I mentioned, these are a comprehensive set of outcomes. So we're looking at things such as access to comprehensive and high-quality health services. We're looking at the systems that impact decision-making around land use, around transportation, community economic development, safety, violence prevention, a critical issue in this community and for the residents and for the kids and families there. We're looking at youth development, we're looking at neighborhoods and school environments and how we link all those pieces together, and we're also looking at trying to reduce the health gaps for boys and young men of color. And so, again, there's a lot of issues there, and some may seem like it's, you know, why are we biting off so much? Sometimes I think about that as well. But, you know, but there's a great opportunity. And when we did a scan of all the potential places where we could go, and there was a lot of places because we were looking on the one hand at, you know, high rates of health disparities. Unfortunately, there are too many communities with very unacceptably high rates of health disparities. But we were also looking for communities with incredible amount of leadership and vision. And as you can see now in Richmond, there is no shortage of that, of the commitment and of the level of partnerships that exist that we felt we could really build off of to advance our Healthy Communities agenda. So just to say that during the planning process, the on the ground, what's called Healthy Richmond, they just completed a 18-month planning process, and they listened to over 1,000 residents in Richmond and heard their priorities for change. And so those priorities are going to guide the work forward. And we'll be setting up a table of various stakeholders who will come together, system leaders, community leaders, nonprofits, but also, and most importantly, residents, and both adults and young people being in a leadership role in this work. And I'm very proud to say that actually through a community process, our partners on the ground identified Bay Area LISC to be the convener for that table, for that multi-sectoral table. And so LISC is going to be working with pulling together all of the partners and really keeping the focus on the plan and moving that vision forward. And I think one of the biggest, opportunities is, how do we braid all of these efforts together and really create, scale up the transformation that we're seeing in Nystrom, scale it up to the city so that all kids in Richmond, no matter what neighborhood they're coming from, really has a place to go to a great school, to walk out, to cross town, be safe, enjoy time with their families. So we're really looking forward to working with Bay Area LISC on that broad vision, and we invite your partnership in that as well. So thank you.
So I think you've seen a kernel, something start from a kernel in Nystrom, in Nerve, and start to grow and grow and grow, including with brand new and fabulous institutional partners and personal partners with Kaiser Permanente and Angela, and the California Endowment with Diane. So this is going to allow us to really take this work to a new level, not just, as you heard them say, on health, but on building a truly healthy and sustainable community. So we're incredibly excited and gratified. Okay, before we break for questions, I'm going to do a really quick thing, which is a total experiment for me, so don't leave me hanging, participate. I want to sort of capture the Rosie the Riveter spirit of we can do it. So I'm going to ask some questions, and if you answer yes to this, stand up. So how many people actually believe that what we've presented is meaningful and has impact in the community in Richmond? Okay, well that was easier than I thought. Stand up. So I'm gonna go with it. How many people believe there's a lesson or two that you could take home and work with in your community? Raise your hands. Really? That's pretty good too. All right. How many people here would give a show of support for the hard work of the residents of Nystrom and their partners in the collaborative? Give a shout out. do it. Wear your buttons. Wear your buttons tonight, tomorrow. And with that, I want to turn it over to Q&A, because I know you must have a bunch of questions and answers, either about structure, community engagement, programs. So please, let us have them. And I think there's a mic right there in the center. And unfortunately, we only have a couple minutes, but we do.
Hi, I'm Bob Van Meter from LISC in Boston. Are there, it sounds like you've gotten some health focus going forward. Are there community is there new energy around measurement of the health indicators, and how is that going to affect the overall strategy that has been pursued in the Nystrom neighborhood?
Well, as part of the work that we do at Kaiser Permanente and with the other Bay Area hospitals, we actually conduct a triennial needs assessment where we actually look at community health indicators. We partner with the county health system to do that. And so we publish that report every year. So there's always an effort and a focus on looking at those health indicators, which do inform how we do our work in the community and what health issues that we focus on. And actually that report is used by a number of nonprofit organizations in the community to write grants and to receive funding, because it pretty much paints the picture and tells the story of what's happening in the community.
Okay. So just a comment on that, on the issue of indicators, because we're really spending a lot of time internally thinking about that. You know, obviously we know what indicators matter in terms of, you know, rates of childhood obesity and violence and so forth, but you know, those are complicated endeavors to try and track that. We're starting off, though, looking at other indicators that we think are going to be important for us to eventually get to those goals. So we're looking at a lot of indicators around capacity building within the community, kind of levels of collaboration, you know, just some things that may not be exciting to report on a news headline, but we think are really really speak to what you're seeing here today in terms of to what degree, you know, is the community really able to form these lasting, you know, partnerships and move on a focused agenda, you know, towards some clear results. So we're starting there, but hopefully we'll get to the issue of indicators.
And Bob, as you know, and some others of you know, LISC nationally has an evaluative process in which they use nationally available data sets to pull data for each of the individual neighborhoods that we're working in and evaluate based on those whether or not there are changes. But we locally are also going to be developing an evaluation methodology for all of our 3 next communities right now, including Nystrom, and it's actually our good fortune to now be working with the California Endowment and Kaiser to be able to better integrate the work they're doing on evaluation with what we're doing, not just in Richmond, but elsewhere. So I am hoping that it can help really give a big evolutionary push to the work in neighborhood evaluation, not just in the Bay Area, but beyond.
Hi, I'm Paul Wright in the Houston LISC office, and I have a question first for Tim, and then I've got just a question also for anybody on the panel. First one is, are there, in these 5 capital improvement projects, are there any green elements that were incorporated? And can you tell me about them?
Are there ever? We actually have a green ordinance in our city now. Our mayor is probably one of the is probably the mayor of the first green mayor of one of the largest cities in the country right now. So it's pretty important for us to make sure that anything that we undertake as far as major capital projects or even minor ones at this point have a green element in it. We just completed a revitalization of our Civic Center, and it's LEED Silver at a minimum. And of course, everything that we fold out in Nystrom will be held to the same level with regards to green. We can't do it any other way, my man.
Not these days.
The other thing we did at the outset was with our community meetings, we actually had a green community be a specific part of the discussion, and what were the elements and principles that we in Nystrom wanted to follow to be a sustainable green community. So those were sort of incorporated into the DNA of the work, and we have tried to make each of the capital projects as green as we could. We actually LISC got a grant from Citi to help green the school and the San Francisco Foundation to help green Nystrom Elementary, and to help do a joint use agreement with the Center for Cities and Schools, the school district, on between the school and the park.
Okay, thank you. Second question, very quick, is are there any federally qualified healthcare clinics in Nystrom? And if so, what role are they playing? Thank you.
Not in Nystrom, but we do have a federally qualified healthcare center in the broader community.
Sorry, we're passing the mic. And we have not only federally qualified one, but we have one that I think is seeking that status at some point soon, but provides really important grassroots clinic care.
And it also should be mentioned here, it's a perfect time to make this note, that on the public housing development, 5 of those duplexes will be preserved historically, and the main effort there is to bring community-based organizations and services out to there. We know that for a fact that we won't get too many dollars anymore for services from the federal government, so we do have a partnership already with a county agency that if we build the home for them, they'll bring the services out there. So we envision senior services and healthcare services taking residence in those units that we are preserving, and that's the main interest there, is to get services out there to that neighborhood.
And we're just going to make one more comment, and unfortunately they're giving us the signal we have to stop.
And just the school district actually has an effort to build and enhance school-based health centers in some of the high schools, and then the Contra Costa County actually has a mobile clinic that goes around to different sites to provide health care. Now, that's not the ideal setting, but in the interim, that's what we do to address some of the health care issues for families and children.
So I want to thank you all so much for your attention. We would love to engage in this conversation for so much longer, but we're going to go to the next session. We'll all be around tonight and most of us tomorrow too, so please come up to us. Wear your buttons, carry the spirit, give us your feedback, and as Tim said, we're always open to funding investment. So thank you so much.